Hey everyone, I'm the Doc Powell. Welcome back. Our last guest is no stranger to the show. He's the author of the New York City Parking Survival Guide, and he joins us to speak about the latest news regarding the alternate side of the street parking rules and how this shift in New York City parking laws will impact motorists. So please welcome to the show. He's no stranger, Lou Camporeale. Lou, welcome.
Good to be here, Bob. Thank you for having me.
Lou, it's all over the news that they want to get back into the normal way of doing things, get rid of alternate side of street parking for the time being, or however they're going to do it. They want to clean the streets, basically.
Well, the streets need to be cleaned, but let me just point out one interesting fact, and that is street cleaning regulations have replaced alternate side of street parking. So alternate side of street parking was discontinued in 1997. It is now street cleaning regulations, which truly reflect what the reason is that these streets people are moving their cars so that streets can be cleaned. But it is in effect. It started on Tuesday, July 5th. The city is now in full effect cleaning streets on all posted days on regulation signs.
And if you don't move your car in time, the ticket can be about $60 to $65. Is that right?
$65, yeah. What's interesting, and I think what brought this about, is back in May, the sanitation commissioner, Jessica Tisch, reported to the city council that over 50% of all vehicles do not move during the limited street cleaning regulations. So I think this was the impetus to get people back into the swing of things. As much as motorists don't like having to move their car for street cleaning regulations, it was an absolute necessity. New Yorkers have a reputation of being somewhat on the dirty side. There's garbage, there's all sorts of stuff. At least once a week, I see a vehicle rolling by that has a flat tire. And since the beginning of this year, I've actually had 3 tires that needed to be replaced because I've ran over stuff that just was laying in the street.
Yeah. Do you think that maybe the prices of the ticket will go up due to what's going on now? $5 to $70, $75, I don't know.
The city is always interested in making money. I don't necessarily think that they will raise the fines, but they have certainly been stepping up enforcement on just not street cleaning regulations, but all parking violations. For 2 years, the city has had very lax enforcement with street cleaning regulations as well as other regulations, and they're looking to make up that lost revenue.
Can drivers avoid major fines? How can they do that? I know you have the book on how to navigate this. With the parking rules in effect right now, how can we avoid getting those tickets other than paying attention to the rules or trying to move your car on time?
That is truly the best thing that any motorist could do, is just read the regulation sign. And if you make an effort to look at the sign, understand it, you can avoid a summons. And most summonses are avoidable. So that's always my advice. Read the sign, avoid the fine. Let me repeat that. Read the sign, avoid the fine.
Read the sign, avoid the sign. I mean, read the sign, avoid the fine. I get it. But some of those parking areas have about 3 or 4 or 5 signs on them. Let me see, what is this all about? And you're trying to figure out which pertains to you.
Well, let me give you a little key on how to do this. Generally speaking, if a sign is in red, that means that you're in a danger zone. If there are multiple regulations on a sign, usually the regulation on top, on the highest point on the sign, is the most restrictive and less restrictive towards the bottom. So always start from reading from the top to the bottom. And if it's red, you're in a danger zone.
But if you do get a ticket, what do? You wrote the book on it.
If you do get a ticket, just don't assume that the ticket was written correctly. You want to make sure that the location is accurate. You want to make sure that the violation is stated correctly, that you have the time and date. If it's a meter violation, you need little things like time first observed. The issuing agent needs to sign the summons. And of course, you have to have the correct location, and that is absolutely critical. The city cannot, or the agent cannot just simply say, West 15th Street. You need a specific address either in front of or opposite. So there's some things to look for on the summons that will, if they're missing or incorrect, will trigger an automatic dismissal. But
And Lou, you have a lot of people from out of town too. It may come in with Florida plates, Ohio plates, and figure, hey, these signs don't pertain to me. I can park anywhere I want. Do they still have to pay a fine? They're written up and they go back.
It's always in your best interest, particularly if you come into out of town and you rent a car. The car rental company will receive the fine and they will charge you. That's part of your rental agreement, that you promise to pay all fines while you're using that vehicle. If you're from out of town and you get a summons, you may say, well, I'm not from New York, forget about it, I'm not going to pay it. Eventually, the city will catch up to you because they will contact the state in which the vehicle is registered. And they will then place sort of a lien on your either registration or license renewal. And the city will get their money, but by that time, you've already lost your 30-day window to fight the summons. You're in default summons, and now you have penalties and interest to pay on top of the original summons. So it's always best. My advice is, it's always the best thing to do. If you're not going to fight it, just pay it and be done with the headache.
Yeah, I mean, you may want to come back to town, and you leave your car in one of those spaces again. You find a boot on your car.
If you are from out of town and you happen to park in one of those danger zones or by a hydrant, enforcement agents can put a boot on your car, and that's the last thing that you want to deal with while you're on vacation in New York City. Because you're going to have to pay for the fine and to have the boot removed. So it's just better.
You wrote a book on this. Tell us a little bit about the book and what's in the book. Give us a quick synopsis.
Well, the book, the New York City Parking Survival Guide, is in its 3rd edition, and it goes into most of the parking laws that motorists will come into contact on a daily basis. And I explain things in a very straightforward, easy to understand, sometimes humorous manner, because it's, after all, it's a book about parking. I don't want it to be boring.
Yeah.
And what to do, basically, if you get a ticket, how to address a ticket, and what to look for on a ticket so that you can effectively fight it or get it dismissed. Yeah.
And the book, you can pick it up anywhere.
You can get it through Amazon. You can go to our website, the nycparkingtickets.info. You can get it there along with a bunch of other stuff. But so far, it's been very well received. A lot of people like it. I get comments about it all the time. It's very informative. In fact, this is about double the size of the 2nd edition because there's just been so much more information that motorists need to know of that I just had to include it.
What's the website again, Lou?
nycparkingtickets.info.
Lou Camporeale, author, New York City Parking Survival Guide. You're going to need it. If you live in New York City, you want to pick this book up, okay? You can get it anywhere. Lou, thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you.
And unfortunately, that's all the time we have for today's show. We want to thank you, our viewer, for tuning in and checking it all out. Our guests, we want to thank all of you, everybody from Bronxnet. Thank you for rolling up your sleeves and doing the things that you do. We appreciate you. Always remember this: what you are is God's gift to you, and what you make of yourself is your gift to God. So choose your choice, let the choice control the chooser. Remember, whether you say you can or you can't, you're right. Whether you say you can or you can't, you're right. I'm the Dr. Bob Lee. I'll see you on 107.5 WBLS. Catch you another day, another way. Love you all. Peace.